Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I will share my personal experience and my thoughts on Cisco DevNet Associate exam. So I will talk about the exam itself because I took it 2 months ago. I passed. Here's my certification in PDF format. I took it on October 14, 2022. And I will also share my personal techniques and methods in order to prepare for this particular exam. So let's get started. I have a document which I downloaded from official Cisco website, and this document describes content of DevNet Associate exam. So I will talk from a perspective of a network engineer who decided to get into DevNet space. I'm a network engineer with about 3 years of experience. I have my CCNA, and now I'm preparing for my CCNP. And I always loved coding, scripting, automating some stuff. Because of that, I decided to get into DevNet space because it sounds appealing to me. And I thought the best way to start is to get DevNet certification, and I started to prepare for it. I used multiple resources, which I'm going to share with you. So that's it. So let's get started. This is the content of exam. And to begin with, I want to mention a very important topic here, which is network fundamentals. One of the sections of this exam. I have to say, unfortunately, an official cert guide of DevNet Associate, which is this particular book right here, they do not provide enough information on network fundamentals topics. Because if you want to genuinely understand those protocols described here, like DHCP, DNS, for example, like everything, I do believe you have to read, at least you have to read CCNA official cert guide 200-301, right? Because you have to have deep understanding of those protocols. Otherwise, I don't know. Otherwise, you will not have enough experience with enough theoretical knowledge to practice in network infrastructure. But that's my personal opinion. So this is the first thing, right? So the primary resource, the primary educational resource to take this exam is obviously DevNet Associate Official Cert Guide, which you can buy, which you can get in PDF format. But you have to buy it, you have to get it because there are a lot of questions in exam which have literal answers in this book. So this particular book is extremely linked to exam itself, right? There is no way you can easily pass exam without completing this book. So get this book, read every single chapter, read it multiple times each chapter, practice, and make sure you understand every single mentioned topic properly in this book. So this is the first one, the primary resource to prepare for DevNet exam. The second resource, in my opinion, is gotta be this website, Cisco's developer, cisco.com. So in this platform, there are multiple cool things and very useful features. So if you are just starting the DevNet journey, you gotta go to Discover, and you gotta start from Learn right here, because you have to have fundamental theoretical knowledge about DevNet in general, about network automation and programmability, about software-defined networking concepts. So just go to learning paths and just follow the paths step by step in that order. It's very friendly. It's very friendly in terms of like interface. You have multiple sections divided so that you can focus on each section individually. You have articles which you can read. At the same time, you have visual representations. And there is also this built-in CMD, let's say, which you can practice with. And like if you cannot afford downloading, let's say, virtual machine or something else, you can use this online browser-based tool. But the most important feature of this particular platform is something called Sandbox, right? So Sandbox is basically let's say a virtual lab where you can practice with a bunch of Cisco's platforms and devices. You can get really good at APIs, at interacting with devices via APIs and other features of network automation and programmability, obviously. So I highly suggest you to practice in the Sandbox, right? There are a lot of labs, learning labs. So you gotta just find some learning labs, and these learning labs will redirect you to the sandboxes, and just follow the instructions and set up the Sandbox. You may be required to install a VPN, AnyConnect VPN, to connect to those devices, but it's totally worth it, and you should do it because practice makes perfect, and the best way to practice, if you don't have devices, obviously it's costly, just get to this website and start learning, start practicing, right? So the second resource I would recommend is a programming course of Python, right? Python is extremely important in DevNet space, right? It's the most popular, most famous programming language in network automation world, and it's extremely efficient because it has a great ecosystem, a lot of libraries like you could use to interact with your infrastructure for every single platform, every single vendor, doesn't matter, every single device. Python is highly demanded in DevNet space, and in my opinion, one of the best ways to start with Python as a network engineer is with this course, which is in Cisco Networking Academy, netacad.com. So you go to netacad.com, courses programming, and here you will have this course, PCAP Programming Essentials in Python. It could be instructor-led or online self-paced. I personally completed it myself, which is online self-paced, and they also give you a certification at the end, which you might add to your LinkedIn profile or whatever. But the course itself is really good for a network engineer who wants to start Python. They start from like very fundamentals and they get deeper until object-oriented programming and its usage. So I highly suggest you to take this course. It's free. It's in NetAcad. And if you want to understand Python and if you want to implement solutions with Python in your network infrastructure as a DevNet, as a network automation engineer, you must take this course, which is free, right? Another resources I would suggest could be this Cisco Learning Network content, which is, I didn't personally took this course, like I didn't attend this course. However, I have heard some reviews and it wasn't that bad, so you could try this one also. Those are video courses, and if you like video courses, obviously I could suggest you CBT Nuggets. They have this course specifically for this DevNet Associate exam, so you could take it. There are multiple videos. They are doing really cool interactions with devices. They are like testing APIs and other methods with Cisco platforms. So you might want to consider also enrolling to this course by CBT Nuggets if you like video courses so much. Another resource I would suggest is official YouTube channel of Cisco DevNet. There are also a lot of videos which might be useful, especially if you are working and if you want to implement some network automation techniques in your own infrastructure. There are multiple videos which could be useful. And otherwise, you can use Udemy. There is a very good there's a very good course by David Bombo in Udemy if you want to get started Python, for example, Python network programming for network engineers. And yeah, so you could use obviously these resources, right? And I suggest you, if you're a network engineer, I suggest you to start and follow this particular document. So you got to start from basics of software development and design, because as a network engineers, we should start to understand SDLC concepts properly to be able to get this idea of DevNet, right? So DevNet is a big topic. So I know some network engineers, they think it's just it's just writing a script and pushing it to like multiple devices, but it's more than that. I think entire target, like the main goal of this DevNet concept is to make networks extremely efficient, bug-free, to increase uptime, and to apply CI/CD concepts in networking world, which means you can continuously integrate and continuously develop your networks, right? So if you want to learn topics like, let's say, XML, JSON, or YAML, I do believe the best way is by practicing. You have to practice, because when you practice, you can actually distinguish these data formats. But when you just read a book or a little article about, okay, what's the difference between XML and JSON, it's not going to be enough. You have to interact with devices. You have to get output of some show command in JSON to understand why it is efficient, why manipulating data is efficient, why machines like these data formats, and why it's not okay to use human readable formats in network automation. Git is obviously a very important topic. In the past, we used to store our configuration backups in TFTP servers and something like that. But now you gotta store them in Git, because in Git you have a full control. You can track any changes made by anyone, and it's on the cloud, which is pretty much always available, which is very, very efficient. APIs are pretty important, like 20% of content is about understanding and using APIs. You have to make sure you have proper understanding of HTTP protocol and how it is used on REST API architecture to be able to interact with devices, why it's efficient. Cisco platforms, okay, I personally didn't like the fact that in this exam they are kind of advertising themselves, because there is way too many platforms they talk about, and they don't provide enough information. So to me, like, I don't really think it's that important. I mean, obviously, if you work in data center environment, yeah, you have to know ACI better. If you work in service provider, you gotta know NSO, right? But don't try to know everything and like excel at everything, because you might skip other very important topics like application deployment. Like, get started with Docker, understand why containerization is better than virtualization and how it might be effective for your network. And infrastructure automation, there are multiple tools. I personally use Ansible and suggest using Ansible because it's based on Python. So if you learn Python, you can easily work with Ansible. Ansible is agentless, which means you don't have to install agents in each device, each node to be able to use it. And it's very extensible. You can use it with multiple vendors, multiple platforms, right? So the best way to learn all these tools is from the official documentation. Never rely on official cert guide. Never rely on some little videos. Go to documentation, read documentation, try to write some scripts, try to apply them on your devices, try to get your hands dirty to be able to improve your understanding of those tools, because they are essential in this field. So about exam, well, I think I finished it like in in 2 hours, so I stayed until the end. And it's not as easy as CCNA. There are a lot of topics, as you can see, and it's not easy to be able to have enough information on each of those topics. However, it's more interesting, I have to say, because you are getting to know software engineering concepts, you are getting to a different field, and you can apply their methods in networking, and that makes your network more flexible, more organized. Especially if you have a lot of devices under your control, like if you work in data center, if you work in service provider with a bunch of devices which needs constant provisioning, configuration management, software installations, upgrades, whatever, you can use a lot of DevNet, a lot of SDN concepts to facilitate your life as a network engineer and to improve business efficiency by improving your infrastructure, which might be very cool. And yeah, at the end, I would say some of the questions are pretty straightforward. Like you just read the question and in 3 seconds you will know the answer. But some of them, you look at the questions, you look at the options, if it's multiple choices, right? All choices like seem kind of accurate, however, you have to focus on question more to be able to extract what is the main question, right? So they could have questions, for example, like which tools are best used in certain environment. So you might say that, okay, I can use this tool in this environment, I can use this one also this one. You end up I can use all of the tools described in the options. However, you have to choose two, and you have to understand why would you choose those two tools, especially why those two tools are different than others, right? So that's why you have to understand those tools better and those platforms also, because each tool primarily designed for certain topology, for certain infrastructure, right? So there are a lot of tricky questions. That's my point. There are a lot of tricky questions. Take your time, carefully read the question until the end. Try to go deeper and understand the details. And also, yeah, I said it again. I said it, and I will say it again, that you have to practice to be able to understand, because you will have a lot of questions where just a little symbol can take you the wrong answer, right? So it can be something about REST APIs. For example, you send a GET request, and when you send the GET request, you have to indicate some options, and maybe they will not indicate one option, or maybe they will put extra symbol and you will not notice it, and that particular symbol will fail to send the GET request, right? So you have to be very, very focused on details, right? Just stay focused on details and try to be versatile, try to be flexible, try to know about every single topic. Don't say that, okay, I know network fundamentals perfect, I will score 100% from network fundamentals. I don't know, let's say, I don't know APIs very good, so, but I mean, maybe I can take 50%. No, that's a wrong approach. I can guarantee that you have to know enough information from each topic, right? You can't just focus on one. You can't just say, oh, this is my powerful part, so I'm going to just focus on that, and that's my main thing. No, you have to be versatile and flexible. And that's pretty much it. I wish you good luck if you consider taking this exam. If you have questions, feel free to comment below. I would love to support and help you as much as I can. And if you want to add something from your own personal experience about DevNet certification, DevNet topics, network automations, software-defined networking, feel free to comment and let's discuss and let's exchange knowledge, because it makes better Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.